How are we all doing today? Okay, so right before we start, share this message with your contemporaries. If there's somebody you think should be here that is not here now, share the link with them and get them into the masterclass. We're going to kick off right away, and I would love to say welcome to this amazing masterclass today. We're going to dive into the world of financial analytics, and we'll get a little bit practical, and I'll show you how to use Power BI to get data from the web. So two key things I'll show you today. The first one is getting data from the web, while the second would be to do a little bit of forecasts using the data that you have. And we're going to work on an exciting data set before the end of our session this afternoon or evening, depending on where you are joining us from. Okay, so we're going to get right into the session, and I'll lead by first of all introducing myself and then telling you what we do at Tenalytics and how you can also transition to become a financial analyst, applying the same set of skills and the same strategies I'll be sharing with you. But let's get started. All right, so why are we here today? We're here to understand and learn how to dive into the world of financial analytics. How to become a financial analyst. And that's what we're going to discuss extensively, and also work on a practical real life case study using a real life data set that anybody can get from the web. Now, who are we at Tenalytics and what are we all about? For us at Tenalytics, we are the leading educational technology company, and our focus is to get as many Africans in Africa and Africans in the diaspora into the tech ecosystem. And one of the ways we do this is by providing cutting-edge training programs across different areas, including data analytics, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, and so on and so forth. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is on the quality of the facilitators that we bring to bear. Okay, so you want to get into the world of data, into the world of financial analytics, HR, data science, this is the best place to be. And over the last 4 years, we've been able to help over 2,000 people make that jump from learning the skill in class, to getting their first jobs within the tech ecosystem. And for me, for those of you meeting me for the first time, my name is Adeza Suleiman. I'm a technology expert with experience in data analytics and management consulting. I started my career as a management consultant, and then I transitioned into data analytics. So just like so many of you, my first degree was in industrial chemistry, nothing related to tech. So I'll be sharing some of the insights, some of the secrets that you need to know to also make that transition yourself, to become relevant and find yourself in a career path that has clear progression in the next few years. I'm the founder of Tenalytics, and like I mentioned earlier, over the last 4 years, we've used Tenalytics as a platform to help so many other people who needed to transition from their previous career as banking officers, as logistic managers, as customer service professionals, transitioning from those roles into roles within the tech ecosystem. I've worked as a data science consultant in the UK and the US. I've also worked as a data analyst with one of the largest privately owned energy conglomerates in sub-Saharan Africa. And I've also worked as a data analytics consultant with FITC, one of the largest major financial services provider within the financial services sector. I've worked across 5 different sectors, from sports to energy to financial services, automobile, and so on and so forth. And I'll be sharing some of the things you need to do to also have a stellar career, especially transitioning from one career path into the other. It took me about 2 years to transition from management consulting to data analytics. And the reason why it took so long was simply because I tried to do it on my own. Okay, I had no mentors. I had nobody to tell me that this is what I need to learn. I was learning everything, those that were relevant, and most of them were irrelevant because I never got to use those skills, even up till today. I learned how to use MongoDB and the rest. I have never used MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. I have never gotten to use that. In the last 10 years of my career as a professional data analyst, how do you avoid those traps? How do you avoid getting into those situations where you spend so much time learning irrelevancies, whereas there are key set of skills you need to gain to make a headway within the ecosystem? And that's what our discussion today would center largely around. So first of all, I'm going to move you into the practical case study. Okay, we're going to learn how to use Power BI to do amazing stuff, getting data from the web, forecasting to see what the price would look like, the price of Bitcoin would look like. Okay, for some of you who have an idea about cryptocurrency, you always want to know what tomorrow would look like, the next month, 2 months after. Okay, so we're going to get data, live data from the web, work with that data from the web, and see how we can build a model in Power BI to help us monitor and track the performance of Bitcoin on a daily basis. Once we are done with that, I'll come back and walk you through who a financial analyst is. People ask this question: why should I even move into financial analytics? Okay, so we're going to discuss that. We'll also move to the skills you need to learn. Like I mentioned, my own career took me over 2 years to transition from management consulting to data analytics. But why was it so difficult? It was so difficult because I really didn't know what to learn. There was no structured approach. I didn't know that I needed to learn this first, go to the next. I had no clue. So I was figuring things out, trying to do it on my own, and eventually became so difficult. So I'll show you what you need to learn to get started. We'll also look at the upcoming cohorts that we have starting on the 8th of June this month. On the 8th of June next month, I'll share some success stories with you. And of course, we have an amazing discount that is fast coming to an end. I'll also share that with you. Now, for us at Analytics, a lot of the work we've done over the last 4 years started to get recognized last year, from 2022 till date. And we've had major publications talk about the stuff we've done. For example, the Business Day talking about how we've helped Africans across four continents to land tech jobs, having a hackathon that Nairametrics also featured, where we had 1 million for the top winners, and it was an amazing competitive session. So the hackathon was simply getting a real life case study, mirroring it to one of the SDG goals, like how do you solve poverty? How do you solve education using data? So we came up with these case studies, came up with the competition, and different people across the globe, over 6,000 people participated. And we had the top 5, and the top 3 went away with the top prizes. So you have the links. I've kept the links here, and you have access to these links to get to read the articles, and you have those videos on YouTube for you to watch if you want to go ahead and do that. We have PR Fire, one of the largest publications in Europe, also highlighting and reiterating Tenalytics' commitment to helping Africans land tech jobs across Europe. So you are currently in the UK, you are currently in the US, currently in Canada. How do you tap into opportunities available within the space? And I'll be sharing some of them with you. I've worked in the UK, I've lived in the UK, I've worked in Canada, I currently live in Canada, and I've worked in the US while I was in Nigeria, working for companies on different projects and contracts. How can you also build those type of opportunities for yourself? But let's start with our case study today. Practical hands-on case study, very straight to the point. Our first 1 hour would be all about the case study. The second 1 hour would then be walking you through all the things you need to learn, the skills you need to gain, and we'll have a Q&A before we wrap up today. All right. Now, for those of you who would like to follow what I'm doing, work with me step by step, you can go ahead and do that by downloading Power BI on your computers. Now, it doesn't matter if you've never used Power BI before. If this is your first time of seeing Power BI, you have no issues following me during this session. If you've used Power BI before, fantastic. We can work together step by step. You follow what I'm doing and you have an amazing time. Either way, the best way I believe you can get value from today's session is listen, watch what I'm doing, ask your questions, and at the end, you will receive the recording, and at your own convenience, you can replicate all the things I'll be showing you. Okay? So I'll show you how to download and install Power BI. And our data would be from the web. And I've also kept the link here for you so that later when you receive my slides, you can always access the link and click on that to take you to all the sites I'll be showing you today. Okay, so first things first, let's get into how to download and install Power BI. So what you want to do is simply go to your browser, okay, depending on the browser, preferably just Google, and I want you to search download or just say download Power BI. Once you type download Power BI desktop, okay, download Power BI desktop on your computer. Once you click on that, it takes you to the Power BI page. Okay, takes you to the Power BI page. You can just simply click on the first link. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so if I click on this, right click, open a new tab. All right, it takes me directly to how I can download Power BI. Like I said, you don't have to download it on the call so that it doesn't, mess with your internet and then you miss out what I'm saying, you lose track and you can't follow. You can watch what I'm doing, ask a question, and at the end of today's session, you can replicate the same thing, okay? I've kept the link for you anyway, so you have access to that on my slide. So you can download Power BI by simply coming here. You have the Microsoft Power BI desktop. You can download directly from the Microsoft Store, okay? Or if you want to download the installation file, you can do that by clicking on advanced download options. I always prefer to download the installation file simply because Power BI gets updated every single month. Now, I've experienced one time when a new update came out for the following month. I installed that new update, but there were some bugs that hadn't been fixed from the new updates, which affected my work. So all I did was to downgrade back to the earlier version. Now, because I had the installation file, it was easy for me to go back, downgrade my Power BI to that earlier version the previous month, and my Power BI was good again. So you can also do the same. Once you click on advanced download options, it brings you here, okay? And all you have to do is click on download. It's pretty intuitive. You really don't have to do so much to get it downloaded. Now, if you know that your computer is a 64-bit operating system, you select this option. If you are not sure if it's a 64 or a 32-bit, simply select the first option, all right? So all of these steps I've highlighted are all in this link, okay? They are all embedded in this link on my slide, which I'll share with you at the end of today's session, all right? But I'm just doing it to, allow so you can follow what I'm doing step by step. Now, once you select the option for the Power BI you want to download, you click on download, it downloads the file for you into your downloads folder. And all you have to do from there is install. Double click on it, install, click on install, next. And it's a straightforward process. You get Power BI downloaded and installed. It's pretty straightforward, nothing really technical, okay? Now, once you have Power BI downloaded, one of the first things you want to do is launch Power BI. You want to launch Power BI, okay? So I'll simply go to my search, All right, I'll simply go to my search. Let me see. Somebody's saying they can't hear me. I believe I'm audible. All right, if I'm audible, please just type a 1 into the chat so I know that I'm audible and you can all hear me. Thanks, Priscilla. Ngozi, thank you. Roy, Ayodeji, fantastic. Thanks a lot. So all you have to do after here is go to your search, click on search, and I'm simply going to type power, okay, BI. And the moment you start typing, you'd see the Power BI desktop appear because you've installed it, okay? And all you have to do is click on it to launch. So I'm just going to wait for Power BI to launch on my computer, and we get to see what Power BI looks like. And Power BI is a very powerful analytic tool, okay, for a data analyst, for a financial analyst, and anybody who has to work with data. Power BI is one of the most amazing BI tools or data visualization tools you can ever work with. Okay, now when you open up Power BI, it opens up like this. Okay, one of the first things you want to do once you have Power BI opened is to select a blank report. A what? A blank report. So I'm just going to click on blank reports, and this takes me into this space. All right, so this is blank, and Power BI is simply saying what? Add data to your report. So we need to add some data into this report for us to do anything, analyze the data, visualize the data, and all of that. Okay, so how do we add data into Power BI? And this takes us to our data source. There are numerous data sources and how organizations generate data. The banks, for example, you have your mobile applications, your mobile apps, your banking apps on your mobile phone. You have your web applications, and every single mobile app has a database where the data on all your transactions and so on is stored. Okay? You have web applications where you carry out transactions on the web. Data is also stored in the database for the web application, and so on and so forth. You have data on YouTube, you have data on Twitter, you have data on Facebook, on so many different platforms. As you join us today in this session, we are going to collect data from you as attendance. You see the attendance link coming up anytime shortly, and all you have to do is fill up the attendance so you can receive the recording. Now, what we collect from you is also data. So organizations generate data from so many sources. Now, the data we'll be working with today is data from Yahoo Finance. And the data is on the web, public, available to the public. How do you access this data? Very, very important. So let's do another search very quickly. So I open a new tab, and still on Google, I just type Yahoo Finance. Okay, Yahoo Finance, and I hit enter. Now, if you are following me, you're in the UK, for example, you are doing the same thing, you are in the US, you are in Nigeria, you would see Yahoo Finance based on your location. So I can see Yahoo Finance for Canada because I'm currently in Canada. So you would see yours based on your location, all right? So in case you see one or two little differences, don't fret. It's simply based on your own specific location. So this is Yahoo Finance, and this is what I want. So I click on Yahoo, I click on the link, and it takes me to Yahoo Finance. So let's take, for example, a lot of people got involved in investing in NVIDIA because of the AI trend currently ongoing. Everybody wants to invest in NVIDIA. So the stock prices are going up. Now, the question is, as an analyst, if you want to track certain parts of the movements of the NVIDIA stock, can you do that? If you're somebody who invests, well, let me just, make this caveat very quickly. None of the things I'll be saying today is financial advice, okay? We are simply learning how to use Power BI to do what? Get data from the web, analyze that data, and visualize the data. That's simply what we're trying to do. So this is Yahoo Finance, and we want to track the Bitcoin prices over the last 5 years so that we can use that as a basis to tell what is likely going to happen in the next few months when it comes to Bitcoin. Okay, and let me also put this out there. There are so many factors, so many variables that can move the price of, assets like Bitcoin. So this is not, I would say, a holistic analysis we are carrying out today. You have macro variables, you have micro variables that could affect and move the market, move the prices of Bitcoin. So what we are looking at is leveraging past data to do what? Forecast the future prices of Bitcoin. So I simply come to Yahoo Finance and I go to search and I search for Bitcoin because that's my focus for today. Once you type Bitcoin, you want to look for, you can use any of the, currencies or any of the currencies, but I want to use the US dollars. So BTC to the USD, I click on that. Okay, BTC to USD. So you can see what the price is today. It has increased by 0.28%, $193. You have all of that clearly shown on Yahoo Finance. Now, I don't want all of this. What I want is what? I want to see the data for the last 5 years. So I would simply go to historical data. You'd see that there's summary, you'd see charts. If I click on charts, it takes you to the charts. You can see the charts, okay? If I click on conversations, but I want historical data. So I click on historical data. Once I click on historical data, what happens? It shows me the Bitcoin price. You can see the time period from May 25th. That's simply today. So what has happened today from when the market opened to when the market would close. But I don't want just for today. I want the last 5 years. So I simply come in here, I click on the drop down and I select 5, okay? Or I can simply select the dates, the specific dates I want. I can customize my dates, select them from here, okay? Or I can simply just click on 5 years. So from today, give me the last 5 years data for Bitcoin prices. So I click on 5 years. And once I do that, you'd see May 24th, 2019 to May 24th, 2024. Okay, and I click on what? Apply. So apply is simply give me this specific time period. So if I scroll down, you can see today's date, May 25th, and I scroll down, you'd see that we would scroll all the way to 2023. And the more you go, the more you'd see that you have 5 years worth of data for Bitcoin prices. And what do you have here? You have the dates. You have the dates. Let me make this a little bit bolder. Okay, so you have the dates, you have open, the price at which Bitcoin opened, when the market opened as well. You have the high. So for this day, what was the highest value or the highest price point for Bitcoin? What was the lowest? Okay, and at what price did Bitcoin close? And then you have the adjusted close, you have the volume that was also traded. Now, I want to get this data into Power BI. And gone are the days of copy and paste. You don't do that anymore in today's world because you want to be efficient. You want to ensure that whenever the prices change on the website, it also changes in your report. So I want something that is dynamic and can be updated regularly. So what I'll do, I'll come to download. If I click on download, I can download all the data as a CSV file that I can open up on Excel. All right, but I don't want to do that. I'm simply going to click on download and copy link address. Right click and do what? Copy link address. Having done that, I'll simply copy the link that takes me to these particular data sets. All right. So now it's time for me to go to Power BI. I go back to my Power BI. Remember, Power BI is telling us to add data to your reports. So I'll go to the top left corner where I have get data. And this is where Power BI is very intuitive. It's simply you looking across the entire Power BI environment. It's easy for you to tell what one particular button does. So if I click on get data, you can see different data sources. I can get data from a database. So if there is a database somewhere, a PostgreSQL database, MySQL database, IBM DB2 database, Azure, it doesn't matter where the database is. I can connect to databases. I can connect to the web. My data is where? It's on a website. So I want to connect to where? The web. And I can see web as one of my data sources. So I simply click on web. All right. So now that I've told Power BI that I want to connect to data from the web, Power BI would give me a box and say, Adaiza, I want you to do what? Place in the URL for the data you want to connect to. Now remember, from the Yahoo Finance website, we have done what? We right-clicked on download and we copied the link address. So going back to Power BI, I'm simply going to paste that link address as my URL. So I'll right-click inside the box and I'll click on what? Paste. So you paste a very long link that takes you to that particular data set. And then I click on OK. So clicking on OK is simply doing something. What are you doing? You're telling Power BI that there is data somewhere on a website and I want to send you on an errand. Go to this website, the URL I've provided, go there. There is data there and I want you to extract and get that data for me. All right. So Power BI would ask you, how do you want to connect? As an anonymous, Windows, basic web API, and these are all related to websites. If you work in an organization, for example, and in that organization, you want to connect to a data source and you need to enter username, passwords, and so on and so forth. So if you go to Windows, for example, you'll see where you can enter your username, your password. If you're connected to a website that requires an API, you get the API key, you enter the key right here before you connect. But this time around, we are connecting to just the website that we can access the data for free without any restrictions or access, limitations. So we're simply going to use anonymous, which is the default anyways. Leave it on anonymous, click on connect. Power BI is then going to run all the way to that website and try to get our data for us. Okay, so this is Power BI connecting and showing us a sample of the data and the way it appears. So we can see the dates, open, high, low, close, adjusted close, and volume. Pretty similar to what we have on that website, correct? Now, you have three options. One is to load, the other one is to transform, and the third is to cancel. And I want you to learn something today. And I want you to learn a particular process when working with Power BI called the ETL. The process is called what? ETL. I'm going to write it here so you don't forget. ETL. What's ETL? ETL is simply extract, transform, and load. Okay, now extract simply means this is where you are connecting to the data. The data is somewhere. There is a data source. In this case, our data source is the web, Yahoo Finance. So we're going to go to Yahoo Finance and extract our data, which is what I've just told Power BI to do. Give Power BI the link, go there, extract the data for me. Second step is to do what? To transform. Transform means what? You want to clean up your data. Your data has some dirt, some unwanted characters, some unwanted columns. You want to put your data in the right shape for analysis. So if you need to work with the data in a way that your open price and your close price. You want to merge them together. You all do that as part of your transformation process. So transformation is the process where you prepare your data for analysis. Everything you need to do before you start analyzing, you do that under transform. And the rule of thumb is this: the best practice, you do not load until you have transformed, simply because 80% of the time, your data would not be in the right shape for analysis. So you must transform. You must put the data in the right shape. So always remember ETL: extract, transform, and load. Having said that, let's go back. And I want you to tell me, which of the three options should I click on? Do you think I should click on load from here, or transform, or cancel? Type it into the chat. What should I do? Load, transform, or cancel? Bearing in mind the last write-up I just had on my slide, and what I advised you to do with ETL. Advise me, what do I do? Transform, fantastic. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, brilliant. Chidera says transform. Chinedu says transform. Sinisola, Esther, Abraham, absolutely correct. So we do what? We transform. Remember, extract. Power BI has gone to the website, extracted the data, showing us what the data looks like as a preview. Now we do what? Transform before we load. Okay, so I'm going to click on transform data. And once you do this, it takes you into another platform called the Power Query Editor. And this is what the Power Query Editor looks like. So once you click on transform, it opens up into this environment. And this is where you do all your transformation, you make changes if you want to make changes, and so on and so forth. Now, for this particular data set, we don't need to make so much changes because the data is pretty clean. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is change the name of the table itself. So it says BTC/US, BTC-USD, and all of that seems too long. So I'm simply going to delete everything I have in there. Okay, I'll just delete everything and I'll simply type BTC. Okay, so that's the name of my data, the name of my table, and I hit enter. Right? Now, once you've done this, typically the next thing would be for you to look at all the different columns, one after the other. Do they have the correct data types? Okay. Now, while this is not a fully fledged Power BI class, I'll try to do a little bit of explanation. Now, if you notice, what you have here are your dates. And you have different data types. And sometimes you'd find out that the proper data type has not been, suggested by the Power Query, or the Power Query has not transformed our columns into the correct data types. That's not the case here, but if that were the case, we will have to do what? Make changes one after the other. So if you look at the dates, right beside the header name, you'd see this little icon. If I click on that, it shows me all the different data types you can possibly have, you can change to, and so on. You have the decimals, the fixed decimal, which is usually for currencies. You have the whole number, percentage, date, time, duration, text, true or false, which is your Boolean, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at the date column, it has the date data type. So that's correct. And that's what I mean when I say that. We really don't have to make changes to the data types because Power Query has done a good job to select the correct data types. But I bet you there are so many times where you would have the wrong data types and you would have to make the changes yourself. And this is the same for all the other columns. Open is showing 1.2. 1.2 is what? Decimal. So you look at that and see that the decimal places, the columns that should have decimals are decimals. The columns that should have dates are dates, and everything is spot on. Okay. Now, that we've looked at the data, we are sure that we are ready to use that data to analyze. We really don't have to make changes to these data. Transformation is done. We've extracted, transformation is completed, and now it's time to do what? Load. And how do I load? Loading simply means this data now needs to get into Power BI, and I'll start my work analyzing the data set. And all I need to do at the top left corner, you'd see the icon that says what? Close and apply. So I'll just simply click on this icon, close and apply. And the moment I do that, you'd see that my data would start to load into Power BI. You can see load, wait for it to load, and slowly it's going to load into Power BI. Okay? Slowly it would load into Power BI. So now it's done. And how do I know it's done loading? I'll simply just see at the right-hand side, you'd see my table BTC. That was the name we gave to the table, BTC. If I click on the drop-down, you'll see all the columns that you had in that particular table. Adjusted close, the date, high, low, open, volume, everything is here. Now, for ease of understanding, I'm not going to do any calculations. We're not going to do anything technical, but we are still going to use this data to forecast and see where Bitcoin would be. Also, we'll see the historical analysis of the way the price of Bitcoin has moved over the years, the last 5 years, and just do a little bit of that, just to get to understand the way Power BI works and why Power BI is simply amazing. All right. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do is I want to look at and compare the open and the close price. Okay. And how does this work? It's very simple. Now, let's assume at the beginning of trading today in Canada, the open price of Bitcoin is, say, $68,000. When the market is closing, in terms of the end of the day market, what's the price that Bitcoin closes with? Let's say $70,000. So if you opened at 68 and you bought at that time at 68,000, and when the market closed in terms of the end of the day, the price closed at 70,000. It means that you've made what? 2,000 profits. So whenever the close is higher than the open, you've made a profit. So when you look at the data and you find that, okay, over the last few months, over the last few days, over the last few years, whenever you have the close, the price at which Bitcoin closed, more and higher than the price at which Bitcoin opened, you have a profit. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to see. I want to see, compare the close and the open prices of Bitcoin. How do I do that? I can do that using different charts, but I'm going to use this chart called the ribbon chart. Okay, the ribbon chart. There are so many visuals in Power BI. We can use all of them. All right, and we're going to work with quite a couple of them today. But we want to use the ribbon visual. So I'm simply going to click on the ribbon. Okay, I'm just going to click on that. And when you click on ribbon, what happens? It brings up a blank visual. A blank what? Visual. I can move it around, but you can see it's blank. There is nothing on it. I have to add data to this visual before it becomes visible and I can see what the data actually says. Now, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to increase this a little bit. All right, so let's increase this a little bit to something like this. All right, we can increase it to this. Yeah, I think this is fine. We can always make adjustments. Nothing is ever set in stone. Okay, so I have this. I want to compare open and close of the Bitcoin price. So what do I do? While clicked on this visual, let me close my filters. I don't need the filter pane. So I'm going to close by clicking on these two arrows pointing to the right, and this closes filter so that I have more space to work with. All right. Now that I have my blank visual, I go back to my data. And what do I want to see? Open and what? Close. So I can select the close first of all. I just select it. Okay. I select the open. Okay. And I want to see based on the year. So from 2019 to 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and we are currently in 2024. So compare the open price and the close price of Bitcoin for me. So I'm going to select date as well. Just click on date. Okay. So I have something that looks like this. And it looks very confusing because my date has been broken into hierarchies. And this is something Power BI does. When Power BI sees a date and you select that date, it breaks it down into hierarchies for you. So we can see the year, we can see the quarter, we can see the month, and we can see the day. So you can analyze your data based on all of these different hierarchies of your dates. But I don't want all of these. I want to see only the year. So from 2019 till date. So I'm going to delete my day. Click on this X to take it out. I'll delete my month. Click on this to take it out. I'll delete my quarter. Click on this to take it out as well. So now I only have my what? My year. Okay, so let's expand this a little bit. All right, let's expand this a little. So I can see 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Okay, let's make, I want to change the color of the blue. I always like things to look good in a specific way. And this is data visualization coming into play. And this is you creating things that you want to show people that are, and what you create must be visually appealing. You're not creating it for yourself. You are creating it for an audience. So there are so many things you have to look at when building your visuals. But one major design principle is your visuals must be visually appealing, good to the eyes, easy to read, easy to understand. So I'm simply going to use a particular type of theme. So it changes the entire color for me. I don't have to do it one after the other, just to save time. So I go to view, click on view. You see all the themes available in Power BI. Click on the drop down to see more. And then I'm going to select the theme that says solar. Okay, so when you select a particular theme, it gives you a different flavor of colors. But I just want to use the solar. Solar looks good. I'm just going to click on solar. And this gives me the amber, the orange color, the orange and the amber. Okay, so a dark orange color, light orange color. And this is what I would like to use. Now, I want you to look at something carefully. But before we look at that, let's change. When I selected open and I selected close from my data, what happened? That's a good question we need to ask. So what happened was this. Power BI saw that the open and close are numbers and immediately summed it up for us. Sum. But we don't want the sum. We want the average. Okay, so in 2021, what was the average open, the average close? 2019, 2020, and so on. And rather than having sum of close and sum of open, I'm simply going to do what? Click on this drop down to change it to average. So I click on the drop down here and I select what? Average. Okay. I do the same for open, click on the drop down and select what? Average. So this gives me the average open and the average close price. Now, let's look at this carefully. If you look at the legend, the light orange is the average close, while the dark orange is the average open. Now, you'd see the ribbon. Wherever you have the light orange on top, which is the average close, when the light orange is on top, it means that the average close was more than the average open. So when the light orange is on top, just like you have in 2020, you have in 2021, you can see the light orange, which is the average close, is on top. It means it is higher than the average open. Whenever you have it like that, it means profit was made. So if you look at 2019, the average open, the dark orange, is more or was more than the average close. So if you had invested in Bitcoin, say at the beginning of the year, by the end of the year, you'd have been at a loss. 2020, you can see the light orange is on top. Your light orange is your what? Your average close. So using the same benchmark, if you had bought Bitcoin at the beginning of 2020, by the end, you'd have made a profit. Same for 2021. You'd have made a profit, whopping profit as well. 2022, you'd have made a loss because you can see the average open is higher. The dark orange is on top. The light orange is, below. So here, it means that the average open was more than the average close in the year 2022. 2023 profits, average close is more. 2024 profits, average close is more. Okay, so now that we've seen it clearly that, wow, okay, so apart from 2019 and 2022, all the other years have been profitable for Bitcoin. So this is something, pretty interesting. Now, one other thing I want to do very quickly is I want to see what the trend has looked like in terms of the average close. How has it increased and dropped, increased and dropped? I want to see what's the trend look like, because trends can also tell you a story. It can give you insight into what you can't see from the outside. Okay, so I'm going to do something very quickly. Okay, and I'll use another chart. I'll use something we call the area chart to create this. So I'm going to click on the area chart. Again, it gives me something that is what? Blank as usual. All right, I want to put something below here at the end of the day. So let me just reduce the size of this. So let me reduce this a bit, drag this up, reduce it a bit as well. So I have space below. Now I want to see my trend of the close, the average close price of Bitcoin. So at the end of each year, how much did Bitcoin close? And what does the trend look like? So again, clicking on this blank, I simply go back to my data, click on what? Close. And when I click on close, always remember, Power BI will give me what? Sum. But I don't want the sum. I want what? Average. Average, because average gives me a clearer picture rather than sum. It's like saying that if they ask you what's your average salary in a month, what's your average salary? And you sum up all your salaries. No, that doesn't give you the average. It gives you the total. Your average salary in a month, you look at what you collected in the last 6 months, for example, you divide it by 6, it gives you an average. So I want to see the average close, not the sum of the close price of Bitcoin. So I change this to average. Again, simply clicking on the drop down and changing it from sum to average. Straightforward. Now I want to see the dates. So show me the trend from 2020, January to December, 2021, January to December, 2022, January to December. So I go ahead and select my dates again. Okay, and you have something like this. Let's even increase this a little bit to the right. Okay, so we have something like this. Now, what does this show us? It shows us from 2019, every single, month from 2019 to 2020, every month from 2020 to 2021. And we can see clearly that the close price in 2021 and even in 2022, where you would have made a loss in 2022, you can see the price was also very high. But then it started to drop in 2022. And that's where you see that you made a loss. If you had invested let's say at the end of 2021 and you left your Bitcoin up until 2022, you can see the trend of the close price dropping. 2023 was also a very bad year for Bitcoin as well. And you can see very low close price. But then in 2024, you can see the spike increasing again, got to an all-time high, and so on and so forth. So this shows us the trend of how Bitcoin has moved from the year 2019 till date. We are currently in the month of May. So if you hover your mouse somewhere around here, you'd see 2024 Q2 May 24th. The average close price, 68,526. You can see that if you hover your mouse on your visual. All right. So that's as at today, or as at the 24th of May. Now that we've seen this, interesting. Okay, pretty interesting. But I want to see something more. At least two more things. I want to see how the volume of Bitcoin moves in line with the average close price. So when you have volume of Bitcoin traded, does that affect the what? The average close price. So if $21 billion worth of Bitcoin in dollars in value was traded today, how did that affect the price at which Bitcoin closed for that day? I also want to see this. All right. But this time around, I'm going to use a chart called the line and the clustered column. I click on that, it gives me a blank. Let's use this. I'm just going to bring this here. Okay. Resize it. Always feel free to resize as much as you want. And I'm just going to put this right here. So I want to see 2020 to 2024, or from 2019 to 2024. Show me what the volume has looked like in terms of the value of Bitcoin traded, and show me the average close price. As volume increased, did the close price increase? So when you see an increase in the volume traded, it gives you a signal that the price could also go up, and so on and so forth. So using this particular chart, it gives you the opportunity. The chart I'm using now is called the line and clustered column. Line and clustered column. So I can use a column and also show a line on top of it. All right. So it gives you a clear comparison between two different variables. One of the variables is the volume. The other one is the what? The close price. So I select my close. It's going to give me sum as usual, but remember we changed it to average. Okay, so I change this from sum to what? Average. And then I go select my what? Volume. Volume, change it from sum to average. But then again, you have them in the same column, the y-axis. One has to be column, the other one has to be line. So one would be a column, either the volume or the close price. You decide. What do you want to see as columns? You know, your columns from the bottom right to the top, so you can compare year on year. And then one would also be the line. So I want my volume to be the column, and I want my close price to be the what? The line. So I'm simply going to drag my average close. I'll click on it and drag it and drop it under the where? The line y-axis. Okay, so I'll just leave it like that. Now I need to add my dates, so I can see the dates either by the year or by the month or by the quarters or by the day, how the volume moved and how the close price also moved. So I go select my dates. All right, and you have something like this. Again, I don't need my day, the month. I want to see it by year. So in 2019, 2020, 2021, I want to see it by year. So I'm going to take out my day. I'll delete my month. I'll delete my quarter. And of course, you can see the year. Okay. And you can see the close price. Okay. So let's leave this at that, the way it is for now. So you can see 2019, you can see the close price. But now let's look at something interesting. If you look at the year 2020, you would see that there was a slight increase when it comes to the close price for Bitcoin. So the volume traded increased from around 20 billion to around 33 billion. And then the close price also moved from 9,000 to 11,000. Interesting, right? Now, if you look at the volume in 2021, the volume traded was on an average of about 47 billion. You can see the bar, that was the highest. And you can also see the price, the close price of Bitcoin moving from 11,000 in 2020 to what? 47,000 in 2021. Now, if you look at 2022, you'd see that the volume dropped. From 2021, you had a volume of about 47 billion, okay? Drops to what? Around 30 billion. And you can also see that the close price moved in that direction, dropping from 47,000 to around 28. So we can see that there is sort of a relationship between how the volume increases and the close price increases. You can see what the close price looks like in 2024, $57,000 on the average. And you can see that the volume also rose from 2023 to 2024. And expecting that the more the volume increases, the likelihood the close price would also increase as well. So this gives us a very good picture into something that looks a little bit interesting. Now, the final visual I want to see is, I want to do a little bit of forecasting into the future. Okay, so we've seen the close price across the years. Now I want to see, based on that, show me how much Bitcoin would look like in the next few months. Let's say June, July, August, thereabouts. And I must mention again that this is not financial advice, number one. Number two, there are so many variables or factors that affect the price of Bitcoin, not just historical prices. If it were that easy, it would be easy to predict what the price would be tomorrow and so on, okay? So what we're going to do now is use a line chart. So I'm simply going to use a line chart, just like I did above. So I'll click on the line chart, okay? As usual, it shows us as blank. I bring it down here. Let's bring it down, and I'm just going to increase to something like this. Okay, so I'm going to put my line right at the bottom, my line that will show me from 2019 till date, and also do some forecasting. So let's select what we need to add to these line charts. What do I need? I need my average close. So at the point when Bitcoin closed for each year, what was the amount on the average? So I simply click on my close as usual. It's going to show us a sum, right? Change it to average. Click on the drop down and select average. Now I'm going to select my dates. So I'll click on dates to select. Okay, and we can see all the different points of how the prices have moved, similar to what we have here. Okay, similar to what we have here. The only difference is this small one on top is called an area chart. The one below is a simple line chart. Okay, now I don't need my quarter, I don't need my day. I only need the year and the month. I only need the what? The year and the month. So for each year, show me the month from 2019, January, February, and so on. I don't need my quarter. So I'm going to take out the quarter. I'm going to take out the day. Okay, so I only have my year and my month. All right. So you have, you don't have so many intervals in between. So I just have my year and I have my month. So from 2019 May, 2019 June, 2019 July, all the way to 2019 December, and you move to 2020 January. So in between each year, you have the month from January to December, and so on. Now we're going to use this to show what the price would look like, the forecast eventually, okay? So how do I do that very quickly? And this is for those of you who have never done or forecasted using Power BI before. I'm sure you'll be doing this for the very first time. Okay, you'll be doing this for the very first time. Somebody said the last class was not shared. So Tope, what I advise you to do, check your spam, because it's likely the email could have gone to your spam. So check your spam. That's number one. Number two, if you're in a WhatsApp group, ensure that you look out for messages tomorrow. So when you have a session like this, 24 hours after, you're likely going to get the recording. And I'll show you where you can eventually get the recording. Even if you don't receive it in your email, how do you get the recording? I'll show you that when I'm done with this. Okay. So once you have this, I'll then go to my visualizations. Make sure you are clicked on this line chart. You're not clicked on something else. You are clicked on the line chart. Go to visualizations, and I'll click on format your visual. Okay. So if you want to format, make changes, add something, change the color, you do that under where? Format your visual. Now, one of the first things I want to add my markers. Okay, so I'll come to markers. It is off, I'll turn it on. So markers are just simply these bubbles or these little dots just to show each point on your line. We can reduce the size of the marker if you want to. If you click on this drop down under markers, you'd see the size. We can reduce the size from 5 to say 4 or even 3. You know, let's leave it at 4. So it's not too small. We can reduce it, increase it as much as you want. Now, having done that, the next thing I need to do, remember, we want to forecast. Let's forecast 6 months into the future. 6 months from today, meaning that I want to see, we are currently in May. I want to see June, July, August, September, October. Okay. Now, how do I forecast in Power BI? Once you click on a visual, under your visualizations, you have 3 icons. You have add data to your visual. So this is where we added our dates, we added our average close, and we created this line chart. If I want to change colors, add my markers, and so on, I click on format. I can change my colors, I can change my markers, I can add and remove, you know, stuff I need to do on my visual. And then you have what? Add further analysis. And this is where you want to be. Add further analysis. So if I click on add further analysis, you have the trend line, you know, the x-axis constant line. You have so many things, right? But what do you want? Forecast. Forecast is currently off. And I'm simply going to turn it on. So I'll click on forecast to put it on. Now, once you put this on, you'd see your line, the upper bound, the lower bound, and then you'd see the forecast line. Okay, nothing much is really happening here yet in the forecast line, but we're going to make 1 or 2 edits so we can see what it really looks like, because this is just showing a straight line going up. Doesn't look too accurate. Okay, so what are we going to do? Simple. I click on my drop down under forecast, and I'm going to make changes to my options. I want to forecast month on month from May to June to July to August and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'll simply come to my units where I have points, and I'm going to click on the drop down and select months. I want to forecast based on what? Months. So I select my months. What's the forecast length? Do I want to forecast for 10 months? No, I want to forecast for 6 months. So I'll reduce this by clicking on this, reduce it, or you can just click inside and type what you want. But I'm going to reduce this to 6 months. Okay, now ignore the last. You can leave this at 0. You don't need to make changes to this. Seasonality. Now, because Bitcoin is a highly volatile, you know, asset, seasonality, you want to, and you're also using the month as your forecast units, you want to change this to what? 12. It is currently on automatic or auto, even though you can't see it clearly. What you have here is what? Auto. Okay, so I'm simply going to change this to 12. And you can do that by using the up arrow key to increase or the down arrow key to reduce. So let's increase it to what? 12. Okay, I'm going to leave the confidence interval at 95%, and I would click what? Apply. The moment I click on apply, what happens? You'd see that this line that is just straight would now, you know, look like a trend, proper trend that either goes up and down or it looks a little bit more realistic. So I click on apply. And the moment I do that, like I said, you'll see that the line will take a new shape. So it's no longer just forecasting, showing a straight line to the top. Now you can see it declined a little bit. So the black line is your forecast line. We can change the forecast line. Let's change it to the red color so it's a bit clearer. So I simply go to my forecast line, click on the drop down under my forecast line. Okay, go to color, and I change the color to red. Let's change it to red. Okay, so it's a little bit more visual, and we can see clearly. All right, now let us add some data labels so that we can see the labels. Just before we started to forecast, what was the price of Bitcoin and so on. Okay, so to show that, I'll go back to my format visual, click on that. Okay, and once you click on format visual, you'll see data labels. It's currently off. I'm simply just going to click to turn it on so you can see the price. 68,000, it came down to 65. You have 65, and now you have your forecast. You can see the forecast. Okay, and I want you to look and focus at the upper bound, focus on what? The forecast price. Okay, now this is May. If I go to June, we can see June and we can see the forecast. So in June, Bitcoin is likely going to drop to at around $58,000 based on the forecast we have here. All right, if I shift this a little bit more to July, it increases a little bit. Or let me see, June is what? June is 58, July 56. So it drops slightly, further a little bit to 56. And then in August, it increases to 59. It drops slightly again in September. It increases in October. It increases in November. So we've seen from May up until November and what the forecast has given us from this particular data. Now, just to wrap up before we get back into what skills do you need to transition into financial analysis. I want this to look a little bit better, just slightly better. I'm not going to make much changes. Like I said, the focus is really not on building an amazing dashboard, but looking at the power of Power BI, how you can get data from the web, how you can build and see what has happened over the years and so on. So I'm just going to click on the very first visual I created. Click on Format, okay? Click on General, and without doing so much, I go to Effects, and I turn on this button that says Shadow, okay? So I turn it on, and this just gives my visual a little pop. So they pop up or they pop out a little bit more, okay? So I click on this one as well. I click on what? Turn on the shadow, click on this, turn on the shadow, click on that, and turn on the shadow. Okay, now I want the ability to also, what if I want to see for only 2021 and 2022? Must I see for the last 5 years? Can I filter my data a little bit more? Yes, you can. And you can do that using what? Using your slicer. So I come back to my visualizations. I click on slicer. It gives me this slicer right here. Okay. And what do I want to add? I want to add my dates so I can filter from just between 2019 and 2022, or I can start from 2022 to 2024. I can do that at any point in time. So on this slicer, I add my dates. So I click on dates. And the moment you add your dates, you'll see your dates. The earliest dates on this data, which is 25th of May, 2019, and your latest dates, which is 25th of May, 2024. Simple. And you can see these buttons. If I slide this to the right, it means I'm simply reducing the dates. And let's check it out. So if I click on this slider and I slide it to the right, you can see I'm increasing. We're in November 2019. We are in January 2020. I can increase to say January 2021, 01/01/2021. And if I release it, you see that my visuals will change. Everything here will change. Okay, all my visuals will change and they respond to this particular slicer. Okay, one thing I can also do, let me take it all the way back. I can simply enter my dates by coming into the calendar here, click on the calendar button, and I can select, I want to start, let's say from December 2021, okay, or January 2021. That's when I want to start my data. I want my data to start from then. I click on this and I simply click up, 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 up. Sorry, I go to 2021, click on January, click on 1st of January 2021. And you see, and we can see from 1st of January 2021 to, let's say, 1st of January 2024. So I click here again. This is my 2024. We are currently in May. If I click up, 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 it takes me to January. I click on 1st January 2024, and all my visuals would what? Change to reflect that filter I have added. Now let's add a title to what we've created, and then we can leave this particular page. So I click on insert. Okay, I click on my text box. Click on insert, go to text box, click on text box, and I'm simply going to type Adeza, or let's just type Bitcoin tracker, Bitcoin tracker. Okay, I select everything in there, I make it bold, I change the color to fit the color of what I already have, so I use the orange color. Okay, I increase the font size to, let's say, font size 24, and I center. I want it to be central, so I center. Let's reduce the size of this, and I want to drag this all the way to the top. Okay, drag it all the way to the top, and then increase this all the way as well. So you have something like that. You have your Bitcoin tracker. Okay, so let's just resize this a bit. We can also add the shadow to this just to make it look good. But like I said, we didn't take time to say we want to, spend time making it look good, making it look really visually appealing, but that's because of time, okay? So I can simply go to my effects, while clicked in my text box, I go to effects. We can also put a shadow to this, all right, just to make it pop out a little bit. And this is our Bitcoin tracker. Now, tomorrow, when more data is added to that website on Yahoo Finance, all you have to do, you don't have to get data again. All you have to do is go to your home tab, and simply do what? Hit the refresh button. And once you hit the refresh button, it will load more data, and whatever you've created becomes what? Updated automatically. You don't have to do anything else to get this done. And this is how you can get data from any single website. Okay? And I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And it's important to also know that as an analyst, you are not constrained by the sources in which you can get data from, because that becomes very, very key for you in displaying the type of skills you have. Now, what I want everybody to do today, at the end of the session, when I walk you through the skills you need to learn in the next about 40 minutes, I want you to go back and try to replicate what I've done. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Anybody here today who has never even seen or heard of Power BI can do what I've done, following all the steps I have shown you in the last 1 hour, 15 minutes. All right. Now let's get back into our slide. If you've learned something new today, I want to know, type into the chat. Just type yes, give me whatever you want, type it into the chat if you've learned something new today. Okay, just type something into the chat if you've learned something new today. Thanks for that, Shedu. Ify says, I'm mesmerized. Absolutely fantastic. During COVID in 2020, one of the projects I was involved in required that we always get data to show the areas where you had the high death rates due to COVID, you had the highest number of infections due to COVID, and so on. So you had so many websites that reported these numbers. But how do you get it into a central area for visualization so that you don't have to run around the whole place? You know where to focus on when it comes to the death rates, the number of people infected. And that was something I did. And of course, I had a lot of sessions just like this, showing people how to do the same. And this is how you can get data from the web and do amazing stuff. So one of the reasons why people want to have this skill, people want to get into financial analytics, is simply because it is one of the easiest ways you can get a job within the tech ecosystem as a financial analyst. And the reason why it's like that is because it is easy to learn. Easy to learn in the sense that it takes you about 3 to 4 months for you to learn the skills that you need to transition into the space. Secondly, the jobs are there in terms of transitioning and getting a job. You have very high demand for financial analysts. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. And I would also show you a report that clearly indicates, looking at the jobs that will grow and the jobs that will decline. If you want to be in a career that will grow in the future, one of the career paths you want to look at is financial analytics. Okay. And lastly, the salaries are also fantastic. So you have high and rewarding salaries. Okay. So fantastic salaries as well. Now, we try to do something every year. We analyze data to see where the demands would be in the tech ecosystem. So if somebody wants to transition into a new role, where will the opportunities be? How do I ensure that I'm in a role that will be relevant in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, and so on and so forth? After we did our analysis, we came up with 8 different career paths. One of them was the financial analyst career path. But we needed to validate our analysis. And one of the ways we validated was using the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs reports. The World Economic Forum always forecasts and tell where the opportunities would be, highlighting the jobs that will grow and the jobs that will decline. So at the left-hand side of these reports, you have the jobs that will grow in demand. And at the right-hand side, you have the jobs that will decline in demand. Now, why is this instructive? It is very instructive because one of the first things that stood out to me, looking at the career path that will decline, I was very shocked when I saw it myself, is what? One of the career paths you'd see is the accountants and the auditors. So you're an accountant today or an auditor, you run the risk of being in a career path that is what? Declining in demand over the next few years. How do you position yourself? That's a question you need to ask. And I always tell people, look, if you have accounting skills, you have skills in anything related to finance and so on, what you want to do is take that your accounting, take that your finance, and even if you don't have any skills in accounting and finance, add data analytics to it. The moment you add data analytics to the skills that you have, what are you doing in that sense? You are moving into a career path called the financial analyst. And this is a career path that has also been highlighted by the World Economic Forum as the career path that will grow in demand. Okay, and you can see that clearly. So you can easily transition from here into getting a job in this area. Okay, and that's always my advice to people. Don't get into career path blindly. Always ensure that you have a strategic point to make your decision. You have a strategic overview, looking at the different areas where would you have growth and opportunities. Okay, so that's what the World Economic Forum says. And I've also kept a link for you. For those of you that want to get into the reports, all you have to do is click on the link. I share this with people as much as I can. Okay, once you click on this link, it takes you into the reports. Or if you Google World Economic Forum Future of Jobs reports, just go to page 30. Okay, go to page 30 of the report, and it brings you here. So you have the new jobs and the lost jobs. Okay, the jobs that will decline and the jobs that will increase. At the left-hand side are the jobs that would increase. The right-hand side are jobs that will decline. So I took a screenshot. You'd see the accountants and auditors here as one of the jobs that will decline. And you'd see the financial analyst as one of the jobs that will do what? Increase in demand. So you want to be at the right side of making that decision to transition your journey into the area of tech. You're in Canada currently, you want to get into a career path that is progressive. This is a career path you can get into. You don't need to have experience. You don't need to have the knowledge of accounting or finance. Everything is you learn in the classroom and apply by working on projects and case studies. Now that we've seen that the financial analyst career path is in high demand, you can learn in 3 to 4 months. The salaries are fantastic. It's one of the careers that will grow in demand in the next 5 to 10 years. Who is a financial analyst? That's the next question. What does a financial analyst do? Okay, and I can see some questions coming up already. Simisola is saying, I've learned about forecasting in Power BI. I really appreciate analytics for this session. It's always our pleasure, Simisola. Thank you for joining us today. Galaxy is asking what's the difference between the financial analyst, the business analyst, and data analyst. Don't worry, Galaxy. I'll answer all these questions in the next about 30 minutes when I'm done with my presentation. Okay, I'll answer all of this. Who is the financial analyst? And I always tell people simply to use very simple language. The financial analyst is a data analyst, okay? A data analyst that focuses on what? Financial records. Simple. Now, while the data analyst would work with different types of data, the data analyst would look at the customer data, try to do customer segmentation, try to do the customer lifetime value. The data analyst would look at project data, which projects were met on time, were not met on time, try to look for factors that led to delays in projects, and so on. The financial analyst is focused on what? The financial data, the revenue. Where is our revenue coming from? Our expenses, where are they going to? What are the profitability metrics we need to look at to ensure that the business is doing well and we are in a good standing with regards to where we need to be financially? That's the focus of the financial analyst. You're not looking at different types of data. Your focus is on where? Financial records. So a financial analyst is simply a professional who analyzes financial data to help the company take decisions from a financial point of view. All right? You analyze financial data to ensure that the company takes financial decisions from a financial point of view. So you want to make investment decisions. You want to identify areas for cost optimization. How do we optimize costs? Okay, you're looking at profitability. What is our return on equity? What are the different profit margins we need to look at? What is the industry benchmark with regards to return on investment and so on and so forth? And are we meeting those benchmarks? Are we doing well as an organization? All right. You want to be able to tell the company how to allocate its capital based on different types of investment evaluations that you've carried out. Okay, looking at the risk, looking at the return, looking at the strategic fit of that particular investment the company wants to make. You want to look at how different regulatory decisions impact the company. When government comes up with a new regulation, what's the financial implication on our company within that industry? How does different economic downturns, economic changes affect the business? When you have the Naira floated, when you have inflation rate at a particular level, how does it impact us? That's the role of the financial analyst. So like I mentioned earlier, you are simply a data analyst who does what? Analyzes financial data. So that's your focus. The financial analyst drives business decisions. Everybody would agree with me. If you work in a not-for-profit or in a commercially focused company, so a company that looks at making a profit, you need a financial analyst to tell you what to do. How do you optimize costs? How do you increase revenue? How do you allocate resources, allocate your capital, and so on? A not-for-profit that is not focused at making a profit, you also need a financial analyst to tell you your little resources you have gotten, your little funding you have gotten from donors and grants and so on. How do you allocate it properly? How do you manage your cost, optimize your costs? You also need a financial analyst. So either way, profit-oriented company, not for profit, you must have a financial analyst to guide the decisions that you take. And that's why the financial analysts are very, very high in demand. So they help companies answer different questions. For example, what are the notable trends when it comes to expenses? How do we manage expenses? What's the company's profitability and the overall financial health? You look at the expected financial outcomes based on investment decisions. And I'll give a typical example. There was a time when one of the companies I worked in wanted to go into meter manufacturing. So you see the meters you have in your homes where you load your tokens, you have it maybe in your basement, or you have it outside your homes or inside your home. You have those meters that you load your tokens, you have electricity. So the company wanted to go into meter manufacturing. And all we needed to do on that project, I was a data analyst on the project. We had a financial analyst on that same project, and we did something called CBA. What's the CBA? Cost, benefits, okay? Cost, benefits analysis. And immediately we saw that there was no way we were going to make a profit looking at what we were trying to achieve. And after doing the cost benefit analysis, we also did a financial model to show 5 years projection. And there was no way on earth we were ever going to make a profit from that business. And that was how it had a natural death. The business never saw the light of day. And that's the value the financial analyst brings to the table. You can take decisions from a point of view that guides the business to implement the right policies, implement the right decisions, because you've seen what the data says. Okay, how should the company allocate its capital? One critical question the financial analyst would ask: how would different scenarios affect the financials of the organization? Another important question the financial analyst answers for the business. So how do you get the skills as a financial analyst? You must understand how to solve problems. So problem-solving skill is number one, prerequisites for you to get a job as a financial analyst. You must know how to identify, see a problem, know that it's a problem. You must know how to break problems into multiple parts using different techniques, like the McKinsey-Macy model. Macy. When you break problems using the Macy model, Macy means mutually exclusive. Okay, mutually exclusive. There's not enough space for me to write. C is collectively exhaustive. And if I give you a very quick explanation to what that means. Now, let's assume we want to increase. Let me use a very simple example. We run a business, myself and let's say one person here on the call. Let's say Abayomi Israel. And we want to increase revenue or increase profitability of that business. We can increase profitability by doing so many things. For example, we can increase profitability by increasing revenue. Okay? We can increase profitability by doing what? Reducing costs. So number one, we can increase revenue. Number two, we can reduce costs. Now, if you come and say number 3, you want to increase prices. Increase prices. When you increase prices, so you're trying to solve a problem and you want to apply the MISI model, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Increasing prices is a part of increasing revenue, because if you increase price, what happens? It increases revenue. So rather than having so many things you are looking at the same time, you can break them into 2 key areas. Number 1 would be increasing revenue. Number 2 would be reducing costs. Anything that you do that will help you increase revenue would be under increased revenue. So increased revenue could look like we have to increase our prices, we have to, anything you need to do to ensure that revenue goes up, we do what? Put it under increasing revenue. Reducing cost, anything you have to do to reduce costs goes under reducing costs. For example, you want to become more efficient, streamline your production, streamline supply chain. All of those things will do what? Help you reduce costs. So you don't have too many buckets of things you are looking at. And at the end of the day, you know you are looking at 2 key things that are not mutually connected. If I'm increasing revenue, it does not affect my costs. If I'm reducing costs, it does not impact my revenue. So these are 2 mutually exclusive parts of that problem. Okay, so when you look at things in this way, there is a clear focus. You can assign resources. Who are the people that would help to work on increasing revenue? Who would look at reducing costs? What are the types of data we need to ensure we can analyze what has happened regarding revenue? You start to put things where they should be, and that's how you start the problem-solving process. That's just picking one of the techniques called the McKinsey MISI model. Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. You need to know how to apply the right techniques to problem solving. You need to know how to use the right frameworks to get to the root cause of a problem. So you're solving that problem from the roots and not the symptoms. Okay, once you understand problem solving, you then move into Excel. Excel is the most versatile analytic tool you would ever get to learn. It gives you that foundation, it gives you that background into getting into analysis. Like I always tell people, a lot of people start by learning the wrong things, if I can put it that way. And I always like to equate it to learning. It's like you building a house and you are building by starting from the roof. You would struggle, even though you're the best builder in that country, or you're the best architect that have designed a house that you start from the roof. You struggle. What do? You build a very strong foundation. So you start from problem solving, you move into Excel, then you go into Power BI. You saw what we did with Power BI today. That's just scratching the surface of what Power BI actually entails. You'd learn how to do amazing stuff with Power BI. Then you move into structured query language, SQL. This is where you would be able to interact with databases. Remember, like I mentioned, data comes from different sources. And one of the major sources where your data would be in a database. The major reason why organizations keep data in a database, number 1, is because of security, pardon my handwriting, and integrity of the data. So when you have data in a database, nobody can change what you have in that database, except the people that have, access to make changes. So you know the number of people that have access. So when a change is made, you can trace that change to somebody. So you working as a financial analyst, you have access to only do what? Read data from the database. It's a read-only access. You can't update that database. You can't delete from that database. So organizations always keep their data in a database for security and also the integrity of the data. So as an analyst, how do you interact with the database? How do you get data from the database? That's where SQL comes in. In fact, I always tell people that you can't be in data without the understanding of SQL. You're a data analyst, financial analyst, HR analyst, business analyst, data engineer, data scientist, you must always learn SQL. It is that common denominator across all areas. Then you move into your accounting fundamentals. So your number 1 to number 4, these are your data analytics skills. Okay, your data what? Analytics skills. Remember, the financial analyst is a data analyst that focuses on what? Financial related data. So you then learn accounting fundamentals. So if you are new, you've never done this before, you learn the language of accounting. You learn accounting fundamentals. You learn financial analysis. What are the different financial ratios that could help you measure the performance of a business, your profitability, your return on investment, return on equity, so many different financial ratios that can tell the health of a company and where the company is at a particular point in time. You learn financial modeling, how to model a business. For example, you want to start a new company. There is no company that exists like that before. So you can't use the financial records of a similar company to create your own model, and you have to build a model from scratch. How do you build a model? How do you show the base case scenario? Looking at the business, looking at the assumptions, what you need to invest, all the things, the capital you need to put into the business. What will the financial model look like in the next 5 years? What is the best case? What is the worst case? And what is the base case? How do you build those type of models? And that's what you'll be doing in class. You learn valuation, all right? How do you value businesses based on the industry, the different assets, and so on and so forth. And then you learn sensitivity and scenario analysis. So looking at different scenarios, if the dollar to the pounds goes up by this much, how does it impact? If inflation reduces, what's the impact? If the naira to the dollar goes up or goes down, what happens? How does it impact the business? How do you model these types of scenario? And that's what you do in your scenario and sensitivity analysis. And finally, you learn ChatGPT for analytics, because you can't get into anything analytics today without the understanding of ChatGPT. How long does it take? 4 months for you to learn all these skills. 3 months in a project-based class. So for 3 months, you're going to be working with your facilitator, your trainer in class, working on projects together, solving problems, learning all the concepts and so on. And you do your internship for 1 month. So your internship is where you get to work on an end-to-end project. Okay, so you'll be given a business, for example, and you'll be required to build the financial model from what? The beginning till the end, the start to finish for that particular organization. You work together in groups to give you that experience of working in a cross-functional team, achieving a similar objective, and you have presentations that you carry out every week. What's the structure of the class and how do you learn? Your live classes are on Saturdays. So Saturday is when you have your live class, and it doesn't matter where you are. You are in the UK, you're in Canada, you're in the US, you have a time that fits your time zone. So for example, those in the UK, you join your classes 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Saturday. You're in Nigeria, similar time, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. For those in Canada or in the US, a different time zone, you have a class that starts 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, and if you're in the UK, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time is 6 p.m. your time. So for somebody in the UK, on a Saturday, you can either join a class that starts 11 a.m. your time in the morning, if that's the time that fits your time, your timing and your schedule. Or you can join a class in the evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Usually for those who are in the US, Canada, that's the time they start their own class based on their time zone. So you can be in any of the two classes and look for what best fits your schedule every Saturdays. On Sundays, you don't have a live class. You have something we call the Watch Me Do It video. So it's a self-paced video you get to watch on your platform. You learn different concepts you can learn by watching those videos and practicing. And on Saturdays, you join a live class, you get to work on projects, and you solve problems together. The financial analysts, one of the major challenges I've seen across so many regions, when I was in the UK, for example, most of the Africans, or I'd say Nigerians I came across, I found them working in career path they really didn't want to work in. A bank manager working as a carer, somebody who had worked as a logistic manager working in the warehouse. You had this across so many people I had to come across. And one of the major things that shocked me was looking at the opportunities within the space. There are so many jobs, but you don't have enough people applying to these jobs. And I'll give you a very quick example. You have on an annual basis about 3 million financial analyst jobs available, okay, to be applied to. Now, only 500,000 of these jobs gets filled every year. Only 500,000 out of 3 million jobs globally available. And leaving over 2.5 million roles unfilled. So out of 3 million possible openings, only 500 gets filled every year, leaving an opening of over 2.5 million roles that are left unfilled. And the question is, why are people not applying? Simply because they don't have the skills. That's number one. Number two is they don't know where and how to apply, or they are currently applying, but they cannot get interviews. And that will take me to the second part, where after you've learned all the technical skills, if you don't have the employability skills, you would still struggle to land a job. You have a whopping 2.5 million roles, and people say there are no jobs, there are no jobs, there are no jobs. Tenalytics participants get jobs every other day, and the reason is very simple, and that's because they know what to do, they know where to apply, they know how to apply, they know how to tailor their CVs, and they know that these opportunities are there for them. Quick story, somebody got a job last week, that was on Wednesday. He got a job on Wednesday. He lives in Glasgow in Scotland. He completed our data science program and he got that job. The agency that recruited him requested for 2 more people to also get into that same organization. He reached out to me, but it was very location specific. So they wanted people that either lived in Edinburgh, in Scotland, or in Glasgow. Okay, so we got 2 people. One of them lived in Edinburgh, the other one lived in Aberdeen. We got them, they applied to that job, and we are expecting positive results. So you see how being part of a community helps in getting you the job you've always wanted. So 2 people out of the blues, we just call them, hey, you're in Aberdeen, hey, you are in Glasgow, send in your CVs, this opportunity is available, are you interested? Oh yes, of course. We got their CVs, sent it to the agency, and currently, awaiting the feedback this week for them to have interviews and so on. Okay, now what are the factors driving the demand for financial analysts? I've talked about the fact that every organization needs financial analysts. Of course, you also have the needs to take decisions on a data-driven perspective. 90% of the data we have today was generated between the last 5 to 6 years. So in the entire duration of humans on Earth, 90% of the data that we have today was generated in the last 5 to 6 years. So there's never been a time where organizations need people that can manage data, analyze data, make sense of data than now. And that's why you see the demand keep on growing and keep on increasing within the space, all right? And that's why we always tell people that, look, there's no better time. The best time to have done this was probably 10 years ago. The next best time is now because of the demand and the volume and veracity at which we generate data in today's world. And of course, the financial analyst earns around £51,000 per month per annum, I beg your pardon, not per month, per annum on the average. In Canada, about 69,000 Canadian dollars, and in the US, about 86,000 US dollars on the average per annum. Okay, and the financial analysts, like I've said, are very, very important to any organization. They show you where to invest, they show you the financial health of the organization, and finally, how you structure the finances in these organizations. And because you have studied financial analytics does not mean that you only get jobs as a financial analyst. And this is where we also bring our expertise to bear. So we've seen instances where people only want to apply to jobs that they feel, oh, I have done data analytics, I can only get jobs as a data analyst, or I've done business analysis, I can only get jobs as a business analyst, or financial analytics, I can only get jobs as a financial analyst. But that's very far from the truth. You can get jobs in different areas: financial analysts, investment analysts, market analysts, and a very popular one today, a very interesting role, interesting career path called the Financial Planning and Analysis, FP&A. Amazing opportunities within that space, especially for those in the UK and for those in Canada. Amazing opportunities for financial planning and analysis professionals, commercial analysts, cost analysts, data analysts, financial modeling analysts, and so on and so forth. And to make it even more amazing, all the programs come with free internship. Like I mentioned, once you are done, 3 months in class, working on projects, solving problems, you have another 1 month to intern. Okay, and you add these projects to your portfolio, and this gives you amazing proof of the work you've done and proof of your experience to any recruiter out there. I've kept the link to the portfolio of one of our participants, so you can also click on that. It takes you to his portfolio. Everybody creates something like that. And let me show you within just in 1 minute, 60 seconds, I'll just show you what the portfolio looks like. So when you join any of our programs, you build a portfolio that looks like this. So you have a web-based portfolio that warehouses all the projects you've worked on. So this particular portfolio is for Kowil. His name is Kowil, Abdul Kowil. Okay, and these are some of the projects he's worked on: the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company analysis, equity analysis, Netflix equity research report, employee analytics for Smith Corporation, the Safe Foods Company 5-year discounted cash flow model. This is one of the projects that you get to work on. Let me just show you this very quickly, and then we start to wrap up. Okay, so I click on this, it takes me to this particular project. Now, your portfolio link must always be on your CV, because every recruiter would want to see what you've done. What does your experience look like? What's the depth of your skills? How good are you with Excel, with Power BI, and so on? So this is what Abdul Kowil built. This is a 5-year financial model for this particular company. You can see the financial model, the base case, and if you scroll down, you'd see all the different assumptions, creating the statement of comprehensive income, the statement of financial position. And it shows you clearly that this is somebody who knows what he's doing, building this model that looks like this. And everybody can have, a glimpse into the type of skills that you have. If you go to the Netflix equity research, you'd also see the reports that he also built. You'd work on this in class as well. And this is you putting your skills into practice. You're not just learning things and hoping. You are learning not just by watching videos, you are learning by working on real world problems. So this is a report for Netflix. Okay, so you'd see the equity reports properly put together into this document. Anybody who sees that somebody created this knows clearly that this is somebody that knows what he's doing. And this is what gets you the job at the end of the day. And for us, we always say that it seems impossible to a lot of people until they see people that have done the same thing they are trying to achieve. All right. So Where are the success stories? Are there people that have done this before and gotten value? Absolutely. You have somebody like Chika, who moved to the UK as a master's student, and Chika realized very quickly that he wasn't going to get the skills that would get him the job from his master's program. So he joined our financial analytics program. And today, Chika works with the Phoenix Group in the UK as a financial analyst. You have Solomon, an engineering graduate, never done anything finance before, joined the financial analytics program, and today he's a financial analyst with Kegos Group in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. You have Grace. Grace is currently a financial analyst in Canada. You have Akintayo. Akintayo got a job as a CFO in Nigeria, one of the most lucrative offers I've ever seen coming out of Nigeria. We prepared Akintayo for his interview. One of our facilitators, Nene, specifically worked with Akintayo, helped him prepare for his interview. And today, Akintayo is a CFO in this amazing organization. What we've also done to leverage the expertise and experience from these people, they've done the things you want to do. So we bring them back as mentors. So we have something we call the Body Mentorship, okay? Body Mentorship. And this is where a Tenalytics alumnus that has joined the financial analytics, completed it, gotten a job, he prepared him for his interview, now speaks with you and shows you what you also need to do and hold your hands, because it's easy for you to relate to somebody like this. Okay, I'm quickly going to play the video of Grace so that you have a very quick insight into what Grace has to say about the program, and then we'll come back and I'll walk you through the price, the cost of the program, and then we'll take questions before we call it a day today. So let's listen to Grace Diaolu. Grace Diaolu, currently in Canada as a financial analyst. Let's listen to her and let's hear what she has to say. Okay, so the very short video, just about 1 minute, 18 seconds. Let me increase the volume, take it a little bit back. So let's listen to what Grace has to say very quickly.
One of the greatest things that happened to me in 2023 was being a part of Tenalytics. My name is Grace Diaolu, and I am one of the financial analytic students of the September cohort of Tenalytics. The last 4 months has been mind-blowing, drilling, tasking, and stretching. Here, I was able to learn advanced Excel skills, Power BI, SQL, data visualizations, data analysis, how to analyze data, how to interpret data, how to make presentations. I was also taught all the skills that I will need to become a certified financial analyst. To cap it all, we went into the field. We had to take live case studies. We got a company and I was able to build financial model for that company. I gave recommendations. We had decisions. We had to make decisions for the company, and it was just fantastic. And not only that, we had mentorship sections. At the time you were going to get your job, Tenalytics is going to make preparations for you. And if you're here and you're seeking to transit, you're seeking to scale up in the year 2024, please look into Tenalytics. Let Tenalytics be your go-to plug. Thank you and see you.
To get started in data analytics, you don't need previous experience.
So that's Grace. And of course, you heard Grace clearly, all right? Absolutely phenomenal lady. And so many other people. You have Omodele, you have Victor. Victor got a job as a financial analyst with Nickel Finance. Afolabi got a job as a financial analyst. Bumi got a job as a market data analyst after completing our financial analytics program. And so many other fantastic professionals. So what I've also done is to keep a link for you, okay? So you have access to all the different amazing testimonials. And to the person who asked the other time, where do I get the videos for the session? So at the end of today's session, by tomorrow, you can check tomorrow by noon, your time, Okay, you should have a video already uploaded on YouTube. So go on YouTube, search for Tenalytics, and you should find today's session, the recording for today's session, including the slides. So even if you don't receive that, you don't receive the slides or the recording in your emails or your WhatsApp, which you would, but if you can't find it, maybe it's slipped into your spam or into your junk folder, simply go to the Tenalytics YouTube page. I'll show you that as well, and simply do what? Subscribe, and you have access to all the videos within that space. Okay. I'll be walking through this in the next 5 minutes, showing you what you must do in addition to your technical skills to get the job. Technical is never enough. It must be your technical plus employability. Okay? Your technical plus employability. If you don't have the employability skills, level one, your CV. You don't have a top-notch CV. You don't have a CV that attracts the best organization. You don't have a CV that passes through the ATS system. You don't have a CV that is tailored to that job you are applying to. You're not likely going to get a positive outcome. And these are the things we work with you. We review your CV. You have CV review sessions. We show you how to tailor your CV. You have a LinkedIn optimization session. Your CV and your LinkedIn, the persona on your LinkedIn must match the persona on your CV. So if you don't have a CV, we work with you to build one. If you have one already, we show you how to optimize to get the best results. You have Upwork optimization, where you get to apply to freelance jobs, get to work on projects across different regions and locations. Navigating the job market sessions. This is where we show you how, where, and when to apply to jobs. Where are the opportunities in your region, in Canada, for example? Tenalytics just got registered yesterday in Canada. So for those of you in Canada, what this does for you is it gives you the work experience working in a Canadian company. And I'll show you how that works out. All right. So you know where to apply to jobs, when to apply to jobs, how to apply, most importantly. When you eventually get an offer after applying to jobs, you need to know how to prepare for interviews. Okay. So we work with you, prepare you for your interviews before you get in there. So you know the right things to say. You can preempt. We preempt the questions you're likely going to get based on the job requirements, and you're well prepared going in there. And then we write references and recommendation letters. For anybody who joins Tenalytics, you're not joining us as a learner or as a trainee. You are joining us as what? A contractor or a consultant. All right. And this is how you're going to position yourself on LinkedIn and on your CV. Now, what this does for you is it gives you the opportunity to claim work experience. I've worked with Tenalytics as a contractor on this particular role as a financial analyst consultant, or a financial planning and analysis consultant, or as a financial analyst contractor, and we write a reference for you, because these organizations would ask for what? For references. Okay, and these are some of the things that makes the difference for you. This is just level one. Level two is where you have your mentorship sessions every single week. And of course, you also have on-the-job support. So you've gotten a job and then you're on a project that seems a bit difficult. How do you latch into that project and get your feet solidly on the ground? And this is where we also get to work with you. And finally, with the things we put in place, all the strategy and the structure we have in place, we have a promise to you, which is a guaranteed 1 month, guaranteed interview 1 month after you complete the program. 1 month after you complete the program, you are guaranteed an interview because of all the things we put into place and also the partnerships we have with recruitment agencies across different regions. The next cohort starts on the 8th of June. About 2 weeks from now, we have a discount we've been running for the past 2 weeks called the early bird discount, and that discount closes on the 30th, on the 30th, if I'm correct, that's on Wednesday or Thursday, the 30th of May. So you want to take advantage of the discount we have. This is the best time for you to join the program starting on the 8th of June. 2024. How do you take advantage and how do you get into the program? The discount ends on the 30th and it's also for the first 20 people to pay. So the first 20 people to pay gets the discount, or by the 30th of May, the discount is off. So how do you pay? How do you become a part of the program? All you have to do is, rather than paying $750, you get to pay just $600. And you can break the payments into 2 installments. So if you are taking advantage of the discounts, the 20% discounts, you also have the opportunity to break your payments into 2 installments. $400 will get you into the class, and $200 1 month into the program. If you are paying in pounds, instead of paying $625, you get to pay just £500, $350 to get into the class, and then $150 1 month after the program must have commenced. Same with the euros, you get to pay only the discounted fee of $580. $400 will get you into the class, and $180 1 month after the program must have started. Canadian dollars, we are paying in Canadian dollars, you only get to pay $900 instead of $1,125. $600 gets you into the class, and $300 a month after the program starts. We are paying in Naira, you get to pay only $720. $500, this gets you into class, and $220 a month after the program must have commenced. How do you go ahead and make payments? You can either scan this link and it takes you to the payment center, or I'll quickly show you how you can go ahead to make payments. All you have to do is click on this link, or you can scan the QR code. It takes you to the Tenalytics Payment Center. If I click on this link, it takes me into the enrollment center. And what do I have to do? All I have to do is scroll down to where I have financial analytics. Now, when you're trying to make payments, if you want to get access to the program brochures, you want to see all the nitty-gritty of what you need to learn, you can get access to the program brochures from here. You want to chat with us, you want to have conversations, you want to join a one-on-one session to ask questions, you can click on this, chat with Tenalytics, and one of the customer success team members would be with you to answer all the questions that you have. But if I scroll all the way down, you'd see 2 major options to either do a direct transfer to the pound account, the dollar account, Canadian dollar, the euro account, or simply make payments with your credit or debit card. So I scroll all the way to financial analytics, click on that. It takes me to the payment page. The first payment, if I'm paying in pounds, for example, the full amount is £500, but I want to pay my first installment of $350. All I need to do is enter £350 here. Okay, click on reserve a seat. Enter my full name, enter my phone number, enter my email address, and what happens? Click on pay with card. You enter your card details, click on what? Confirm payment, and you get an automated receipt into your email. The email comes with a link for you to also click to register, and this is what gets you into the class. For those of you who do a direct transfer, all you have to do after doing your direct transfer is to simply come back to this page and click on upload your receipts. So this takes you to the form where you upload your receipts, upload all your details, we get your details, and you're a part of the program. Now, people always ask me this question that I'm a bit busy in June, but I'll be free in July. Can I take advantage of the discounts in June and get into the program? And the answer is yes. So you can take advantage because the discount is off in the month of June. So for those who want to start in July, you're not going to enjoy the same discounts for those who will be starting in June. But you can take advantage today of that same discount, making your payments, and when filling the registration form, either by coming here to upload your receipts or the link you get into your email if you pay with your card, you'd see one of the options that says, when do you want to start? And you can select, I want to start in July, I want to start in August. You can defer the program to start in subsequent month. Also, but what you would have done is to enjoy the discounts we have currently running for you. Okay, so that's how you get to be a part of the program. You get to join and register for the Financial Analytics program. Okay, I'm going to take questions and I would love to hear from you. I know quite a number of you asked, some questions. I would like to answer those questions. Somebody asked, is it possible to learn both Excel and SQL? You learn Excel and SQL in about a month and a half, not for 3 months. Okay, and you will look at all the people that have gotten jobs without analytics, and this is the difference between how you are used to learning. Now, because so many people, you are used to self-learning. I've been there myself. I've learned on YouTube, I've learned on Udemy, I've learned on Coursera. It was a waste of my time. As a beginner, somebody getting started, the worst thing you can do to yourself is self-learning, because you learn for a very long time. It took me 2 years to do that, to make that transition, because I was learning so many irrelevancies, things that were not useful to me. And I was wasting time when it comes to, you need to learn something in a specific area today. I've tried it, I've watched the video, I've tried the same thing. I cannot seem to get it. And there is nobody to walk me through. I don't need a message, you to send me a message. I need somebody to jump on a call, to work with me real time to help me solve that problem. So that's the major reasons why it takes a lot of people so much time to learn the skill. You don't need to be the best in Excel. You don't need to be an expert to get a job. As a financial analyst, there are critical skills you need to have in Excel. All the skills you need to land a job, just like Chika, who got a job in the UK, just like the CFO, who got a job in Nigeria, just like Grace, who got a job in Canada. Those skills you learn for 4 months, okay? So let me see more questions. I'll take more questions. Somebody asked me the other time, what of business analysis? Is the same amount, the same fees for the financial analytics, the business analysis, data analytics, they're all the same amount. So if you want to be a part of any of the programs, all you have to do is make the payments, and you can choose when filling the form where exactly you want to be. But let me answer the question on the difference between financial analytics, data analytics, and business analysis very quickly, because Galaxy asked that question. So I'm going to answer the question, but I would like to do a little bit of inscription on my screen. So just give me 1 second, and I'll show you exactly what the difference between them are. All right, and I'll take questions from those that have their hand up. Okay, so just relax. I'll take all the questions you have. I'm here for you today. Now, let me answer Galaxy's question. I sort of gave you some level of insights into what the data analyst would focus on and what the financial analyst would focus on. But let's break it down a little bit more. Now, every organization across the globe has 3 major components: people, processes, and technology. Okay, now, the business analyst does what? Focuses on processes. The business analyst focuses on what? Processes. How do I optimize a process? How do I make a process better? Something that takes 5 days, how do I reduce this thing from 5 days to 10 minutes or 5 minutes? That's the focus of the business analyst. So you want to go into an organization and do something we call process mapping. You map out a process that already exists, okay? Every organization has processes. Amazon, you order, it goes through certain processes, your product is delivered to you eventually. How long does it take? When you map out a process, you come up with something that is what? The as-is process. As-is, the current state. This is what we have today in this business. Looking at all the different activities that happens or that goes on that particular process. Where are the gaps? Where are the inefficiencies? And how do we do what? Optimize the process. So you have the as-is process. You look for the gaps that you have gaps, okay? And eventually, when you come up with strategies to close those gaps, make the process that takes 5 days, now takes 5 minutes. You have a process that is what? Your to-be process, which is the future state. What does this look like in the future? How do we move from 5 days to 5 minutes? And these gaps that you have to cover usually would involve some level of automation. You have to what? Automate. You have to implement what? Software. You have to implement what? Applications, software, applications, and so on. Now, as a business analyst, you mapped out the process. In mapping out the process, you identified all the activities and all the major players within those different activities. You sit down with them, you have conversations about this process you are trying to make better. From the customer service, or how do you do this? What's the customer journey? What does it look like? How does a customer move from ordering the products to receiving and getting that product? You walk entirely through that process. In doing that, you are also gathering requirements. So for you to implement an application that will streamline your process, make things more efficient and faster, you must understand that process by having those conversations and what is required to be implemented on that particular application. At the end of the day, when you've had those stakeholder engagements, you've asked questions, you've carried out something we call elicitation, you've asked the right questions, you've set up focus group sessions, you've set up meetings to ask those questions. You come up with something we call a BRD, a business requirements document. And this is the document that will contain the requirements that you need to take into consideration when this app that will streamline the process is built. You won't be the one as a business analyst to build the application, but you would manage the project. So you know how to map out processes. You know how to analyze the gaps, come up with recommendations by sitting down with different people and asking them questions. We are engaging the different stakeholders. You are eliciting information by asking the right questions. You come up with a document that shows all the requirements, functional and non-functional, that needs to be added to the application that needs to be deployed to streamline that process. You will then need project management skills to manage the project, serving as the interface between the business and the technology team. So this is your BRD that contains all the requirements. You are going to do what? Communicate this to the technical team or the technology team that will build your application, and you would manage that project. So if the application needs to have certain type of features, you would ensure that those features are implemented. You would track the deliverables. So you'd have project management skills as well. And you must also have the skills to do some level of analysis. You should be able to use Excel. You should be able to use Power BI and SQL as a business analyst, not as in-depth as the data analyst, but you'd have a very good understanding of how to use those tools as well. So these are key skills that you need. Your focus is not on analyzing data. Your focus is on what? Processes. How do I make this process better? How do we deploy the right tools to make us more efficient? If we have manual processes, and these manual processes takes us 1 week, 5 days, 3 days, how do we reduce this to a few minutes and a few hours? That's your major objective as a business analyst. All right, you'd use tools like Jira to track projects. You would use tools like draw.io to map out processes. You would use tools like Confluence to collaborate on projects. You use tools like Trello to do what? Collaborate and also track project deliverables. All right. So your focus is not on analysis. Let's get that out of the way. People confuse business analysis with data analytics. They are totally different roles. All right. That's the business analyst. Now, for the data analyst, your focus is on what? Is on the data. Simple. Every company needs to answer two questions. The first question is what happened in this company. The second is what? Why did it happen? Okay, so last year, Q1 2023 or Q1 2022, you had a certain level of customers you were able to acquire. In 2024, it dropped or it increased. Every organization generates data. I talked about that earlier, all right? So you want somebody who can take that data and analyze the data to tell you, based on the data, what happened in this company. What happened in the month of January to what? April. Did we have increase in number of customers? Did we have increase in revenue? Did we have a drop? Did we meet our targets? Are we above or below? You want to know what happened. When you now know what happened, let's assume you met your targets in January and February, but March and April, you did not meet your targets. Is then you start asking questions. Why did we have a shortfall in March? Why did we have a shortfall in April? So once you've seen what happened, the next question is, why did it happen? If you know why something happened, it's easy for you to understand that, okay, if Bitcoin increased because the volume increased, it means that in the next month, if the volume is increasing, the price of Bitcoin would also increase because you know what drove that particular result. If we run 20 promotions in a month, we make $1 billion. If we run 10 promotions, we make $200 million. So for us to make 1 billion, we must run 20 promotions and above. So you know what happened, you know why it happened, so you can double down on that thing that gave you positive results and keep on doing it. And the data analyst would use the data to answer what happened, which is descriptive. It's called descriptive analytics. Looking at your data to see what happened by describing why did it happen is called diagnostic analytics. Okay, so that's what the data analyst does for you, diagnostic analytics. So descriptive is what happened from January, February, March, April, May. Here you had these points. February, you had an increase. March, you had another increase. April, you had a decline. May, you had another increase. So you have something like this. So the data analyst will take the data, analyze it, and show you between January and May, this is what happened. Anybody who sees this would ask, why do we have an increase in the month of March? What gave us that increase? So you have to dive deeper into the data to answer the question, why did it happen? The financial analyst and the data analyst would always answer these two questions because they have the same set of skills. The only difference is the data analyst works with different types of data. You can work with customer data, for example. You can work with project data. You can work with research data, and so on and so forth. But the financial analyst, on the other hand, does not do all of that. You are an expert when it comes to what? Financial data. Okay, so the financial analyst, the data analyst are data people. That's their number one objective. Answering questions for the company on what happened, why did it happen, and ensuring that the financial analyst focuses on only financial records, while the data analyst focuses on so many other types of data. So when it comes to expertise, creating a niche or carving out a niche for yourself. As a financial analyst, you have a niche carved out within the financial aspect. So when it comes to looking at profitability, looking at scenario analysis, cost benefit analysis, investment analysis, you're the go-to person. The data analyst cannot do that the way you would. Okay, so these are the differences between these three roles. Business analyst is process oriented. All right, the data analyst is data related. What happened? Why did it happen? Focusing on so many different aspects of the business. The financial analyst focused on data. What happened? Why did it happen? But this time around, focused on where? The financial related data. And I hope I answered your question, Galaxy, and that gave clarity into, is there job guarantee? I'll tell you this very frankly, Simisola. Anybody who tells you that there's a job guarantee does two things. Okay, number one is either the person charges you about $5,000 and the person sits down with you and will be the one applying to jobs for you and doing all the things that you would have to do yourself. Or the person is just trying to swindle you and just take your money by promising you things that don't exist. The jobs are there. We don't own these companies. We don't give a guarantee that you join us and you must get a job because you've joined our training program. What we guarantee is you'll get the best value in your training. You'll get the best support possible in preparing you to get a job. And you do all the things we say you should do, you will get a job. All right? But we don't tell you that, oh, Simisola, this is because we have so many different types of people. And when it comes to the aspect of job application, it's a different ballgame entirely. And I'll give you an insight into what you need to do, okay, to land a job. In terms of applying to jobs on a daily basis, you can't apply to anything less than 15 jobs a day. So every day, you must set out time to apply to a minimum of 15 jobs, Monday through Sunday. And that's the only way you can get positive outcomes. So you do all these things, Simisola, it's a guarantee that you'll get the job. But can I guarantee that Simisola will do all those things? That's the question. All right. So you do all the things we say you should do. And that's what has made our participants so successful, because success is very straightforward. And I'll show you exactly how that plays out. Okay. So let's go to LinkedIn. All right. And I'll show you exactly how having something reasonable on your CV, on your LinkedIn profile, gets you the job. Let's go to somebody who has gotten a job with Tenalytics recently. Let's look at somebody like, let's look at Oluwadamilare. So this is very recent. I'm just trying to look for somebody very, very recent. Okay. Now, one of the things you'd see that you also have to do when optimizing your LinkedIn profile is showcasing that you have worked with us at Tenalytics as a consultant or a contractor, like I mentioned. All right. So you do so many things which culminates into you getting the job. All right. You have your LinkedIn properly structured. You have your CV properly optimized, passes the ATS system. You have interviews. You are well prepared. We prepare you, and we have interview preparation sessions for you. This is Oluwadamilare, who got a job with BAM in the UK last month in April. He joined us as a data analyst and completed his program, and he landed his job with BAM. We wrote his reference for him because one of the things you want to do is position yourself to get that job. Position yourself as somebody who knows about the career path you're moving into. You did not just learn in the last 3 months or the last 4 months. All right. So this is a typical example of some of the things you have to put in place that gets you the job eventually. Okay. So the process is we've figured out, we've cracked the code on what you need to do. It's very straightforward. You do all those things, it's a guarantee that you get the job, Simisola, if that answers your question. All right. I'm not sure I have more questions. Before we start wrapping up now, in the next 2 minutes. What I want you to do, for those of you who would like to see the videos at the end of today's session, Adiolu, you have a question. Let me ask you to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question, Adiolu. Hi, Adiolu. You can unmute your mic. I can see your hand is up. I assume you have a question. All right. So while we wait for Adiolu to unmute, one thing I want everybody to do after today's session is go to YouTube. Let me show you what you need to do. All right. Go to YouTube. Search for Tenalytics on YouTube. Go to search for Tenalytics. All right. And then ensure that you subscribe to Tenalytics, okay? But click on this icon. And what does it do? It takes you to the Tenalytics page. What do you get from here? So now we had sessions yesterday. One of them, case studies, walking you through what you do as a data engineer during your internship. I had a session last week where I had done an analysis of 1,000 jobs from LinkedIn for the data analyst and the financial analyst role, and what you need to get a job based on the analysis I did from the data on LinkedIn. You can watch all these videos, all these sessions for free. Today's session would also be uploaded tomorrow at around noon. You get the videos here. Now, what I want you to also do, Simisola, is listen to all these amazing professionals that have joined and they have been able to get jobs. This is Damilare, for